Turns out that a lot of what people called relationships is simply friction with a friendly face.
Welcome to It Doesn't Take a Genius.
Ramsey!
Marshall, what an intriguing quote you have brought us. Friction with a friendly face.
Yeah, turns out what we thought were relationships were simply friction with a friendly face. This hit me between the eyeballs in my friendly face.
Mm-hmm.
So before we go any further, like we're talking about consumerism in this example, and when we say friction would be anything that wastes time, energy, money, mental effort. Right.
Yep.
So friction is anything that wastes your time, money, and your thoughts. And the idea that we currently tolerate friction in our consumer buying, and the best we've been able to do with it is just put happy people into the customer service role to try to make it better. Yeah, that hurts. Yeah, man. Yeah,
So when I go to a grocery store, I'm actually thinking of my wife right now because I guess she really wrestles with this. There's a certain chain that she hates to go to because the aisles are really, really narrow. And so
Right.
you have to wait to get past people or, maneuver around people. But doggone, they do make a point to have somebody greeting you and saying goodbye to you and standing near the self-checkout, which is work that you have to do, who smile. And they're going to ask you 1 to 5 stars. How do you think we did today on, treating you friendly and so on? So there's a friendly face, but there's a lot of friction, and she can't stand it. I mean, she'll go elsewhere for that very reason.
Oh yeah, at some point the friendly face is not enough to overcome the pain of the wasted time,
Yep.
the wasted effort, the mental frustration. Yeah, you're nice, but I can't come back here.
Yeah, that's
You're
pretty much it for
killing
my
me.
wife. Yeah.
So we thought what we'd do is illustrate this with an example that many of our listeners, both of them, may not be familiar with because they're not old enough to remember the evolution of planning a road trip.
Oh, so scary.
Oh
So
yeah.
scary.
So
Yeah.
if you were born 1980 or earlier, you would know this.
Yeah, for
80-ish,
sure.
maybe.
Yeah.
Yeah, if you're born after 1980, some of this early stuff you'll have no recollection of.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah, that's about right, because I would have been out of college when MapQuest came along. So, yeah, in my college years, I was still doing this, and I was born in 77. So 80-something would have been, the last group, the last birth year where all of these eras existed for them. But anyway, we got to take you through all the friction points. So,
oh yeah, so young people gather around, pull up a granola bar. In the old days, right, going from friction to frictionless, when you were planning a road trip.
mhm.
So in the early days, anytime before 1995, 98, somewhere around there, there was the paper map era.
Yep.
And so you would have to go to a store and you would have to buy a paper map. And the good news is paper maps were everywhere. Like there would
Yeah.
be whole, kind of like when you look at, magazine. Well, no, they don't sell magazines anymore. When you look at any kind of display end, right, there would be 6 foot tall, might be 10 feet wide of nothing but maps.
Yep.
Maps of the country, maps of towns, maps of states.
Yep.
And so you had an idea on your road trip where you want to go. So you would buy that map and you would take it home and then you would spread it out on the kitchen table.
Oh,
Then you-
I think you're skipping a friction point. You would unfold it the correct way on the correct side to get it spread out on your table.
Right. And that was the least of the folding friction points.
It's exactly where I was going with that.
Yeah. There's another one coming up.
There's a much worse one coming up.
Yeah. So you unfold the map. Right? You started, here's where I want to go, and you started like drawing lines, highlighting.
Yep.
Right? You're guessing travel times. Like, I think this section would take us this long.
Yeah.
Right? And then sometimes you would write on a separate piece of paper the road you're gonna take. I'm gonna take
Yep.
I-95, and I'm gonna get off there. I'm gonna take 231, and do.
Yep.
And so now I got a giant map. The maps
Yep.
were huge, right? The map
Yep.
might be 3 foot by 2 foot,
Yeah.
or even bigger. And
Yeah.
so you'd have all that, and then to your point, right after you were done, plotting your trip on the map, you had to refold the map.
Yep.
This could take anywhere from 2 to 3 days.
Yeah. That's right.
Fold the map. Just you'd look at the creases, you'd guess the fold direction.
Oh.
Oh, yeah, and you ended up with a wad of map.
Yes.
And then
Yes.
you had to remember to take the map with you. You
Yep.
couldn't leave house, right? You got your car keys, you got money, do you have the map?
Yep.
Right? You
Now we've
couldn't
got
leave.
possibly two people with a friction point because you really wanted your significant other or whoever's riding with you navigating. Like, open up that map and help me get around this crazy interchange or whatever it is, right?
Yeah.
So now two people have friction.
Yeah, you read the map, right? That's why.
Yep.
That's when the divorce rate began to go up. You read the map, tell me where to turn, right? And tell me with enough time for me to make the turn.
That's right.
You're going 70 miles an hour.
No.
Yeah. Oh, missed it. Right. Now we have to consult the map to get back to the turn. Yeah, it was brutal. So now we're going along, and lo and behold, computers showed up, and computers had maps. And the mapping program that we all used was MapQuest.
MapQuest, God bless it.
Sounds noble, doesn't it? MapQuest.
Yes, it does.
Right,
Yes, it
beautiful
does.
name. I'm sorry to see it go.
Yep.
So what you would do is you tell MapQuest where you wanted to go and where you were starting, and then it would come up with a list of directions, so all the steps to get there, and then it would print like the tiniest, smallest, unreadable map on the planet next to the directions. I don't know, just wasted ink. I think the ink guys put that on there.
Yep.
So you had turn-by-turn directions, right? But you didn't have a map. So if you missed a turn,
you were in trouble.
dead reckoning. I think I was going towards the sun. I'll drive away from the sun. Maybe I'll get back to the route that I had planned.
And it wouldn't know about, a traffic situation, construction sites. It didn't, especially in the early days, it didn't know about any of that.
Right. New roads that actually went where
New
like
roads.
it didn't know any of that stuff. So, basically wherever the Model T had driven, it knew those roads.
Yep.
So then along comes GPS, right? And we refer to it kind of like Kleenex and Scotch tape by its brand name is Garmin.
Yeah.
Right. Even if you didn't have a Garmin, people ask, "Are you taking the Garmin?"
Yep.
And so you had this GPS standalone device. It's pretty big. Sometimes you'd have to download the latest maps into it. You could program it, right, and plug it into your cigarette lighter. Cigarettes, yeah, there was a cigarette lighter, and you plugged it in, and it would basically get you to where you were going, and had some additional information, right? It had estimated time of arrival, distances, things like that. So that was pretty cool.
And if the GPS was in-dash included with the manufacturing of the car, you still had to get a DVD update or a flash card update to periodically put in new maps every, I think some of them are like every 3 years. So think about how many roads change in a 3-year time period. Not even, there's some friction. There's some friction when you go down that road.
Oh yeah, and the CDs were like hundreds of dollars.
Oh, so expensive.
Yeah, like $300, which in today's money is $1.5 million. And for the latest maps that you would plug into your in-dash GPS.
Yep.
Well then, right, Mr. Jobs invents the iPhone, and lo and behold, we have smart navigation.
Yep.
There's a map on our phone, right? So we would Google it, right? And then And then ultimately Waze came along.
Yep.
Like it's telling you where the police are. Like,
Yeah.
look out, the 5-0, the po are sitting here. Be careful. And, it was pretty cool. Then we
I
get
will
to,
say, let me add here, if you were in an early adopter of the iPhone, like I was, there was a friction transition point. We did a cross-country road trip with some relatives. They had the Garmin. We
yes.
had the iPhone. And the pain of sitting there waiting for them to program it in, figure out if they had typed in the correct word to generate the address come up, see if it was close to our route. It took a long time before we restarted any part of the trip. I mean, and countless cuss words. I mean, I've never heard so much anger at, we couldn't program this device in. It was so painful to use. Smartphone got rid of a ton of friction on that.
Oh,
So,
yeah.
anyway.
Yeah, now I can remember the transition era. We're in the same vehicle.
Yes.
You'd have a GPS and the phone.
Yes.
And you'd check them against each other, and sometimes the GPS couldn't get a signal, so it would blank out.
Right.
And so now you've got your phone, and not that long ago when Taylor and I were in Costa Rica,
Yep.
we did that, right? Because they said, the not everything's mapped on the phone. The GPS had some roads that the phone didn't have, and so we had the Garmin, and we had two phones.
Wow.
And we still got lost. It was not good. But yeah, that transition where you had both existing in the same ecosphere, that was pretty wild.
Yep.
And then that brings us to today, where we have predictive navigation. So I found this like it was disconcerting at first. So you and I travel. So I make a hotel reservation. So I go online, I reserve a room in another city. Well, the morning that I get in my car, the phone proactively brings up the maps and says, "Are you going to the Courtyard Marriott?"
Yep.
Just push, just say, push the button, and it'll download the map directions and routes it wants me to take. It'll do the same thing at the end of my stay in another town. It knows how long I'd booked the hotel room. It knows that's the last day, so every time I get in my car, it goes, "Going home?"
And what's really scary to me is that it's worth even saying, "Yeah, I know how to get home, but let's turn the directions on anyway, because you know what traffic I'm going to be facing, and you might route me another way." And my wife and I have learned to trust it. It is actually saving us lots of time being stuck in traffic. I haven't been in a traffic jam in a very long time.
Oh yeah. And sometimes when it first started happening, you were like, the machine, it's messed up, and then you're sitting in traffic with your bladder busting, and you go, "All right, I will now listen to you, omnipotent map god." Right. So yeah, you just kind of go with it now. It's like it's saying it wants me to go this way, which looks out of the way.
Yep.
But apparently it knows something I don't. You hit the button, say accept. Right. So we've gone from literally dragging, physical objects for each trip home from the store to just with our voice saying, "Yes. Yeah, take me home." Yep. Plot the route home. So next will be autonomous travel.
Mm-hmm.
Where the car will know, all right, because the car will be synced with your phone, and you will get in the car, and the car will say, "Would you like to go home?" And you say yes, and then you take a nap.
Right.
And then you wake up at home. It's like, how cool is this?
Yep.
So,
well, I was just going to say, for anybody who's listening and squeamish about how fast technology is advancing and us surrendering over control to our AI overlords or anything like that, just set that aside for a minute, right? Like you mentioned Dead Reckoning. We should probably all know how to navigate. That's a healthy thing for us to be able to do, is locate ourselves in the world in which we live, and knowing how to navigate, etc. All good things. And none of that matters a hill of beans. Your customers are coming in the door, having more and more friction taken out of their existence, and they are expecting a frictionless world when they come to spend money with you.
Oh yeah. So when you start to think about this, right, as I'm going through this painful illustration of the transition here
Yep.
and the removal of friction, hopefully in the listener's head, both of you, you're thinking, all right, what am I doing now
Right.
that's creating friction for my customers? And
That's it.
then you think about what is AI going to do to remove friction.
Mm-hmm.
And so AI is kind of like this bulldozer that's just creating a path through your processes, through your steps.
Yeah.
You take the easiest example, yeah, right? You pull up to a gas pump, you go to pump gas in the car, and it says, credit card machine not working at the pump, pay inside.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, we just
Pulling
drive
off.
away.
Yeah, I'm getting out of here.
I don't need any fuel. I'm not walking 20 feet and interacting with a human. When you look at the success of Amazon, right, where they've evolved all the way down to the buy it now button.
Yeah.
So the difference though is between what I think AI is going to do and what Amazon's done is you still had to do all the work before the buy it now button. You had to search, you had to look at different things, read the reviews and recommendations, look at,
Yep.
all right, does this one do exactly what I need it to do? Once you'd figured all that out, selected the item, maybe sorted it by price, then you could click buy it now.
Yeah.
What AI is going to do is to do all those steps before buy it now.
Yeah.
And so I think that's where it's going to be. So think about every time you've gone onto a website and you had to select the filters.
Yeah.
All right, I'm booking a flight. I want to fly United or Delta, one stop only, Comfort Plus. So I select all these filters, and then it gives me selections. Then I click on those selections. I think the AI is going to do all of that. So you'll just say, I want to go between here and here. It knows my preferences, either based on what I've told it, or it looks at my previous trips and figures out this guy likes to sit in the aisle. He likes to fly this type of airline, and it'll present me with those things, and
Yeah.
all I'll have to do is say yes.
Yeah, and I think that of course means that the prompt is going to be really important, right? The friction point will be me coming up with a very good prompt or good directions for an agent that's going to be my AI agent doing that task for me.
Well, I think initially you're right.
Exactly, and that's where I was going with this was that will be over time, assuming we trust the data, assuming we trust the output. That's going to fall away. And there's a part of me that wonders, even if we don't trust the data, would we still rather do it this way because it would be at least frictionless?
Yeah.
Like that's how seriously we take this, waste of our money and time and resources. So I think this is the way of the future. Whether you like it or not, this is the direction things are going. So what do you do about that, Mike?
Well, the in each category, the first business that removes friction will win. Right? If you're the easiest person to do business with, you will win. And in a field that we work in, right? You've got automotive retail.
Yep.
You see that with Carvana. You go online, they'll appraise your car online. You don't have to come to the store, and then they deliver the car to your house.
Yep.
No dealership, no salesperson. Just here's your car, and I don't know if they still did. At the beginning, they would bring you 3. Here were your 3 top picks. Which one do you want? And then we'll take the other 2 away.
Yep.
Fantastic. So, looking at, right, am I the easiest to do business with? It will become more important than I think whether you're the closest, and whether or not you're the least expensive.
Yep.
I'll pay a little more if you'll just
I'll
make
pay for
this,
DoorDash.
Yeah, I'll pay DoorDash if you make this easy, right? We've proved this. with the proliferation of convenience stores.
Yep.
Like
Yep.
we've proven the theory.
Yep.
If you make it convenient, easy to get in and out, I'll pay a lot more money for my microwave burrito. So,
100%.
that's, yeah, we know it works. It's just now AI is going to make it so much easier to do. And I think it will, once it learns you, the prompt won't be as detailed.
Yeah.
Once if it knows my family, it knows our lifestyle, it knows where we work and stuff like that, and you say, we'd like to buy a bigger house,
It
it
knows
will
what you
know.
mean by that.
Yeah, it
Yeah.
won't have to ask.
Hmm.
It'll go
Yep.
based upon, right, everything I see you doing and the things that you've searched for and thought about. This is probably what you're looking for, and it'll serve up one or two options.
Yeah. Yeah, I think that's about right. And so another example in our world is finance and insurance in the automotive world, right?
Mm-hmm.
The person who first makes that easy has often been the winner, right? The person who says 30 minutes you're in and out, or in 30 minutes online you're in and out of this experience. That's going to win over the grinders. And if you're in the business, you know what we mean by that.
Oh yeah.
Uh, so practically speaking, Mike, like what should managers who are interested in applying, sort of this thinking of removing friction, like what should they be doing?
Well, I think it's pretty simple. You just start to look for all your friction points,
Mm-hmm.
and you can map the process. Or, right, what are the steps to buy this product? What are the steps all the way from figuring out that you want to buy the product to selecting the product to taking ownership of the
Yep.
product? What are the steps along there? And then just go after what is the biggest friction point? And asking the customers, ask your customers. All right, so what do you think about the experience? Oh, it was wonderful. I give it 5 stars. Fantastic. All right, so what part was a little bit frustrating, a little bit confusing, or do you believe took too much time?
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Oh, well, yeah, I didn't understand why we were doing this.
Yep.
That seemed to take a lot of time. All right, that's your friction point. Go after that one.
Yep. So with that being said, like once you've identified those friction points, I mean, I'm asking maybe a little too basic of a question, but what would, like, if you brought in somebody like Mike and Mark, what would you do with those friction points to start eliminating them?
Well, I think the first place, well, there's a few places you could start. Our first thought is always ask the people who are doing that job,
Mm-hmm.
is there a better way to do it?
Yep.
Because there's probably a good chance if it's frustrating the customer, it's probably frustrating the employee.
Yep.
And say, all
Yep.
right, so what do you think we could do here to make this easier for and self-interest, easier for you
Right.
and the customer.
Right.
Yeah, I've never understood why we do this. All right, or why we don't have software that does this.
Yeah.
We saw that in automotive service where they delayed so long in text messaging.
Yep.
And the customers and the employees were both begging for the ability to text customers updates on their cars while they were in service.
100%.
And we were late to the game on that. And when
Yeah.
we got it, customers love it. So,
Yeah.
and the service advisors love it. So, yeah, if it's bad for you, it's probably bad for me as well. Let's go look for those points. And yeah, through observation, questioning, focus groups,
Yep.
one-on-ones, yeah, let's identify those friction points.
And start to sand them off. One other thought from me, and this is something you and I have talked about on the podcast before, but the idea of what we're saying here is that AI will become so predictive that it will eliminate friction points before you even realize that they're friction points. It's just going to do things for you. And those have always been the very best customer experiences anyway. It was like they anticipated every need that I had, right? Like that's what a luxury hotel does. And so it reminds me of one of the scariest stories I've ever heard in business, which is there was a manufacturer of automobiles who did a pilot project. You know what I'm talking about. where they had kiosks set up in a service department. And so you would pull up, and somehow you put your keys into the kiosk and you punch some buttons on the touch screen and said, I want an oil change. And it would, say, well, here's a menu. How many miles are you? These are the recommended services. Do you want anything additional? Put it all in the system, and you walk away. In the pilot project, the kiosk outsold the human advisors at the dealerships.
Yep.
In other words, the big question that should be on your mind here is, obviously we want human beings in our workforces. It's kind of the reason humanity exists, is for God and for fellow humans, as near as I can tell. It's not for the robots. So the question here is, how is dealing with you and with your employees better than dealing with AI, dealing with a computer? What makes a human interaction something that would make you, as our friend Pamela Cole says, sticky? What makes your organization attractive in the customer experience? Beyond just eliminating friction, what is it about a human being that makes them want to come deal with you instead of dealing with a computer, or along with probably dealing with a computer?
Right.
So that's my last thought.
No, I think that's a fantastic thought and a fantastic question. And I think if you play this out, right, so we go from in-person service advisor to kiosk, which is outside the building 24/7. I can interact with that. The cars now diagnose themselves.
That's right.
So, and the cars sometimes, in some manufacturers, the car communicates to the dealership and says, hey, I need something. But at this point, we have to email, text, or call the customer and get them to schedule and bring it in. That last friction point will go away with autonomous cars.
Yep.
So at some point, the car will identify it's sick.
Yep.
It will notify the dealership. The dealership will send it a note back saying when it's got a technician available. And then my guess would be after I go home and my AI knows that I don't have any more things to do with the car that evening, the car will take itself to the dealership.
Right.
Right. So it will be repaired, and then the car will bring itself back. I will wake up in the morning, get in my car, perfectly fine, and have it take me to work.
Yep.
So the idea that all this will happen, you start thinking, all right, what would a dealership have to do? Right. So now a dealership has to enable all this capability, and now I have to run my dealership third shift.
Yep.
Right. My dealership has to be open overnight. Maybe I don't have a day shift.
Yep.
Because nobody's physically bringing their cars to me.
Yep.
That's crazy. So my third shift is when I accept all the autonomous cars pulling up, right, do the repairs, send them back out.
Yeah.
And so it's that thinking about what is my third shift, right?
Yeah.
What is in what way is dealing with you better than dealing with a computer? And then what are the changes that I'm going to have to make structurally, process-wise, that's going to enable that frictionless experience to happen?
Yeah. And it might be continuing to anticipate new needs. It might be things that continue to eliminate friction points. And the other side of that is how do you demonstrate that this particular organization with the frictionless experience actually gives a rip about you? Right. That is to be determined, right? That's not necessarily a part of the frictionless experience, but that's a part of what's going to set an organization apart as we eliminate the friction. None of that matters if we don't eliminate the friction, right? They can say, boy, they really love me, but man, they can't get my car fixed for nothing. So I'm moving on. But the two together become really, really attractive. So this is, you're living this right now, whether you like it or not, dear listeners, both of you.
So if you don't like it, go tell the machine. And the machine don't care.
Right.
So there's that. All right. Fantastic, wonderful things to think about. A little bit scary, but wonderful.
Yep.
And if you want to discuss it further, hit us up. We would
love it.
We'd love to talk about it. So with that, we'll turn it over to our frictionless announcer, the man, the myth, the voice, Mr. John Wolfe. Take it away, Mr. Wolfe.
And there you have it, another session of contemporaneous extemporizing from Mark and Mike. I know it's redundant, but consider who we're talking about. As always, feel free to share the ideas you heard here. No rights are reserved, no permissions needed. Thanks. See you next time on It Doesn't Take a Genius.
That's good enough.